Whoa, welcome back to another episode about the Bench Podcast. Man, we're gonna be talking about my winners of first day of the NBA draft. My top three teams who I feel like who won the draft today. Hey, before we get into that, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We on the road to 400 subs, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that comment section. Y'all let me know who y'all feel like won and lost the trade. I mean, not the trade deadline, but y'all let me know who won the draft. What teams y'all think made good picks, what team didn't make good picks, and you know how their future gonna look in the future. But without further ado, let's go and get into it, man. With the number one team that I felt like who won the NBA draft tonight, New Orleans Pelicans. Cause first they started their process early. They started the process before the draft even started, which was today. They started off by getting CJ McCollum off their books, off the record books, deducting all that money from his pay from the organization, trading him for a much younger player in Jordan Poole, who's a champion, who got more tremendous upside, who's obviously, like I said, who's younger, who can bring more to the table. You want to bring in talent that kind of match up with the timeline of the Zions, with the Trey Murphys, and obviously the guys that you finna draft, with them having what they have with the number 7 draft pick in the NBA. So they started their work. They started their little work early. They went and traded CJ McCollum, got Jordan Poole. Today in the NBA draft, they went and got Jeremiah Fears, who is probably the best point guard, pure point guard, who's probably the best. I'm gonna just say that man probably the best little point guard in the NBA draft that we had in the draft today. They was able to pick him up. There was a lot of question marks surrounding the New Orleans Pelicans with what type of guard play they was gonna have. Obviously you still got DeJounte Murray. They still got Jose Alvarado, Jordan Poole over there, so they feel like they're a little bit guard heavy. But I feel like adding a type of young player at Jeremiah Fears with the tremendous upside and potential that he possesses, and the type of thing that he can create for you, and the type of player that you getting out of him. I think it was a no-brainer. Like, with the type of team that's constructed right now that you got currently, I feel like you really don't have no real pure point guard. Obviously you still got DeJounte Murray, him coming off an injury and things like that. But I feel like, I told you, you got to add guys that's fitting to the timeline. With Jeremiah Fears and you trading Jordan Poole, I don't really feel like DeJounte Murray is going to be there too much longer. Now you pair up, Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson with Jeremiah Fears, add him to that young core, add him to the future of the franchise, add him to the core pieces that you get. Also they didn't just stop right there with Jeremiah Fears. They also went and got Derek Queen. I don't know if I'm saying that boy's name right, but y'all know who I'm saying, the big man out of Maryland. So they went and drafted him as well. So they went and got 2 good pickup guys that can come in and contribute immediately. That I feel like can come in and get them good production starter level minutes. Obviously I don't feel like Queen gonna be able to start right away, but he had the potential to do so if the opportunity presents itself. With the type of team that the Pelicans got, I like what they doing. I like the type of foundation that they setting, the type of timeline that they creating. They create a new timeline. They getting all the old guys out and going in with the new. Obviously you still want to have some type of veterans. I'm gonna say the same thing for all 3 teams that I choose today. You're still gonna need some type of veterans that come over there and still help them out, help these young guys out and develop and set a culture and and show them how to win and things like that. Now, obviously, you don't want to bring guys over there that gonna mess up their growth, but I'm saying you still gonna need these veteran guys. So with them and Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, Jordan Poole, still got Trey Murphy, still got Zion, still got Herb Jones under invested Nieces. You still got these young guys, this young core talent. Now you got all these guys that gonna be able to come up in the same timeline. Some gonna be a little bit younger, some gonna be a little bit older. But I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, you setting up a new timeline where you're not just having, our second best player, he might be a 34-year-old. He probably not gonna be around to see this rebuild, to see these players grow into the type of players that they're gonna grow into. So I feel like the Pelicans, they did a good job with getting a pure point guard in there, especially after just trading CJ McCollum to the Wizards. They did another good job of getting another productive player that can come in and give you starting minutes, but obviously he's going to be playing off the bench with the type of roster that they got right now in Derek Queen. So I feel like that's probably my number one team right there with the New Orleans Pelicans, because I think they got more to do. Especially with tomorrow with the second round of the draft. They still got more picks. Still got more work to do and things like that. I still think they can get off DeJounte Murray. But we just specifically talking about the draft. So my number one team, New Orleans Pelicans. Number two, I ain't lying, Utah Jazz. Now I understand that Ace Bailey, he didn't want to go there, but still, it fit like a glove. Best player available, and it fit like a glove. So they get a 2-for-2 special. They get a win-win situation if they the Utah Jazz. Now, obviously, Ace Bailey, he didn't want to go there, but I'm just saying, though, you got to look at it in the grand scheme of things. Ace Bailey, they really don't have a lot of wings over there. They got John Collins and they got, Lauri Markkanen. That's the only playable wings that they got over there. But you look at it. You look at the timeline. With the young talent and young core that the Utah Jazz got over there with drafting Ace Bailey. They drafted Walter Clayton tonight, who I feel like is a good, tremendous pickup. Somebody who can create an offense and be a point guard, who can shoot the 3-ball space out the floor. Somebody that you can add to the timeline with the Ace Baileys. You still got Keontae George, who's going into his third year. You still got Cody Williams, who going into his second year, who you just drafted last year. He J-Dub little brother, so man, that's timeline fit. You still got Isaiah Collier, who going into his second year next season. You still got Walker Kessler, the big man. He's 23 years old, so you got a lot of young depth over there, a lot of young talent over there. So I really feel like they did a good job with getting a perimeter, a franchise centerpiece in Ace Bailey with that type of talent, with the type of skill set that he possesses, being that wing scorer, being that 6'8", 6'9", long arms, long body frame, who can be able to score at all three levels, to be able to, see his game expand over the years as he get more mature and more seasoned as the years go on and go on and go on. But I just feel like that is a good foundational piece right there in Ace Bailey. You can second that up and follow that up and trading up and going against going up and getting trade. Y'all know what I'm trying to say, dog. Going up and getting Walter Clayton Jr. Because we seen what Walter Clayton Jr. did in the March Madness round. We seen the type of effectiveness that he had for the Florida Gators. We seen how efficient he was. We seen that the shooting ability. We seen the leadership that he possesses. We seen the ball handling. We seen the playmaking. We just seen all that on full display with the Florida Gators, and we seen it on a national stage, showing that he can be able to do it at the biggest level. The moment is never too big, and you add that into this young core. This team is going to be very nice in years to come. They're probably about a good 4-5 years away. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously, everybody will look at it, man, they still going to be trash next year. You got to let these guys develop. But once these guys develop, you let them take their time, you let them get up. Like I said, why I'm saying these teams is good, because they all on the same timeline. You don't got a 33-year-old, then a rookie. All these guys going into year 2, year 3 rookies. They all on the same timeline. So they all going to be right there with each other, going up through the grinds with each other, going through the hard work with each other, going through adversity with each other, learning how to win with each other, learning how to do this, that, and the third with each other. But now they just need to add, like I said, with the New Orleans Pelicans, they just need to go out and go get these veteran guys that can be able to set a culture, set a foundational theme where they can know how to win and show these guys where they're not getting in the way of these growth. But I think the Utah Jazz got a good complementary of guys over there. With John Collins, they got Colin Sexton over there. They got Lauri Markkanen over there. So they got some good veteran guys over there that can be able to set a foundation, show them the winning culture, show them the Utah Jazz culture, and to be able to, pass that down into, the Utah Jazz and these young players that they got going in, such as Ace Bailey, which Ace Bailey, I know he didn't want to be there, but man, you got to look into the situation. And I think somebody like Ace Bailey, with him being young and him not want to be there, I still think you got to look at this situation and just go in and embrace it. Go in with a chip on your shoulder, and just fulfill the moment. You hear this, what you worked all your life for, to be able to get drafted and play in the NBA, play at the biggest stage. And now you're a face of a franchise. Now the franchise is counting on you and relying on you to be the player that they drafted you that they, that they envisioned when they drafted you. And that's being an all-star level player, being a superstar in this league in years to come. So, Ace Bailey, I want to hold you to that. Don't just let this, even though you don't want to be there, don't let that get to your head, man. You got to be able to, take that for a blessing. You got drafted. You did what you wanted to do since you was a kid. That's what you playing basketball for. Now it's time to go to work and be able to, try to change his franchise around and submit yourself in history. Now, number one, like I said, that's my number 2 team. The Utah Jazz, they did an excellent job today in drafting. And number 3, it's probably going to be a little cliche, but I think the San Antonio Spurs. And I'm not even just talking about just Dylan Harper, because obviously we know what Dylan Harper is. He was second pick in the draft for a reason. But I've been looking at this 14th pick. You go and get Carter Bryant, a 6'8" athletic 3-and-D type of wing. The way that the league is transitioning now is more wing heavy. You going to get an athlete, somebody like that, and you pair that with Wemby. You pairing that with Jeremy Sohan. You pairing that with David Fizdale. With De'Aaron Fox, with Dylan Harper. You adding all these guys, like I said, the reason why I'm saying these are my 3 teams, because they did it the right way. They drafting guys where all these guys are within the same timeline, where they're gonna be able to grow up and mature and grow together and play together for years to come. When these dudes up for contract extensions, they're gonna be back to back to back to back. So they all gonna be right there with each other. And I think they just did a good job with being able to get an underrated player who was able to drop that low, and they end up getting a steal right there with their 14th pick. I don't really want to talk about Dylan Harper. I know what Dylan Harper is. He's the 2nd overall pick for a reason. The 2nd best player in the draft by far. It ain't even close. So I just know what I'm getting from Dylan Harper. But I'm just saying, with that 14th pick with Carter Bryant out of Arizona, you pairing that up with the type of athleticism, that type of athletes that the San Antonio Spurs already got, man, bruh, I'm telling you, man, San Antonio Spurs gonna be a force to be reckoned with when you already got an alien, a freak of nature like fucking Wemby. Knowing man, come on, dog. Then you get David Fizdale, you still got Jeremy Sohan, you still got Harrison Barnes, you still got what's that other dude off the bench, man? You still got Keldon Johnson. Then you draft Carter Bryant, man, who's 6'8", who is athletic, who can play above the rim, who can defend on the perimeter, who got a good enough wingspan. Man, bro, the San Antonio Spurs, they did their big one tonight. Got to give a huge shout out to all 3 teams that I said who won the draft tonight: New Orleans Pelicans, the fucking Utah Jazz, and the San Antonio Spurs. All 3 of those teams, they did it perfectly. They went out there and understood the assignment, and that's and that was draft the best available and draft the best who fit the culture and the type of team that we're trying to build around. That's how you set a foundation of a winning culture and a winning team. You do it through the draft, and if you draft properly and you draft well enough, that's when you're gonna be able to show the effects, when you let them be able to grow and mature. Without these next 3-4 years, that's when you're gonna be able to reap the benefits of your draft conversation of the players that you just drafted. And I just think the Pelicans, they did a good job there tonight with drafting Jeremiah Fears, drafting Derek Queen, trading away CJ McCollum and bringing in Jordan Poole, who's a champion, who's was also a veteran now, who also, is younger, who can fit into the timeline. Draft with the Utah Jazz, drafting Ace Bailey, drafting fucking Walter Clayton, doing all this. You got all these future draft picks and these other assets. Then you follow that up with the San Antonio Spurs with getting Dylan Harper and getting Carter Bryant. Man, those 3 teams, they nailed it. There's other honorable mentions. I can go with like the Phoenix Suns with the type of position that they was in. They did a good job in the draft today. I can't even hate on them. But it really wasn't a lot of teams that really killed the draft tonight. It was a lot. It's a lot. This was a deep draft, but I just feel like, another honorable mention, the Brooklyn Nets. They did the best. They did the best they could with the talent that was still on the board. And with them having 5 draft picks in this first round, obviously, I wanted Ace Bailey to go to the fucking Brooklyn Nets. That's where I really wanted them to go. But you know, they did what was best for the team and was for the roster and what was available on the board. You know, obviously Ace Bailey, he wasn't available. Jeremiah Fears wasn't available by the time the Brooklyn Nets pick came up. So, hey man, they did what the best they did, and I kind of like they draft. You know, they fitted around with Cam Thomas and the guys that they already got over there. You know, they went and got some point guards, they went and got some wings. They went and got playmaking. So, yeah, those my honorable mention. But those are my 3 teams, man. And we're going to come back tomorrow talking about day 2 of the draft, the winners. And we're going to talk about the losers, the main losers. Now that the draft is going to be over with tomorrow, we're going to talk about that. And make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got more coming. We're obviously going to be talking about all season moves. We're going to be talking about KD going to Houston, all these other things. So make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, subscribe. We is on the road to 400. So hit that subscribe button, and I'm going to see y'all tomorrow at the day 2 of the draft.